Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Michelle. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. My husband is somewhere out in the garden or the chicken coop working hard out there. But today is Sunday, and Sundays mean that it's bread making day. So I thought it would be fun to take you along with me and show you how we make our loaves of bread for the week. And it's just this very simple sandwich bread, but I think it's absolutely amazing. The whole entire family loves it. The first time I made it, we ate 2 loaves, I think, in like 3 days of just like toast and jam. We made some French toast. I mean, it was so good, and it saved us a ton of money. So let me get some things together here. I've got my stand mixer that I'm going to use to make it. Now you can make it by hand. It is very, very simple to make, and yeah, let's get started. So just to kind of give you a little background, when we first moved here, I knew that, we wanted to be more self-sustainable. We wanted to grow in our garden. We wanted to make things on our own. And bread was one of those first things that, obviously, hello, duh, you make, right? So I looked online and I did find a wonderful recipe from, I believe it's Farm to Table channel. Check her out, she's phenomenal. I've learned so much from her. So this was a recipe that she did on her channel, which I think was a recipe that she got from another individual. So it's kind of been passed around a little bit, but I did want to show you how I make it. I make it like she does, and it's absolutely amazing. I make my husband a sandwich every day. He works 4-10, so he works 4 days out of the week, and he works 10-hour shifts, and I make him a sandwich every single day that he's working, and it's been a lifesaver on the wallet. So first, what we're gonna do is we are going to, and again, you can do this in a regular bowl. I have my KitchenAid that was quite expensive, so I'm gonna use it every time I get the chance to. We're gonna add 3 cups of flour first. You know what, let me take this out. But this one, it doesn't lift, if that makes sense. It doesn't lift this way. And it's a pain in the rear to put stuff in there, but it still works really well. I love it. I wouldn't trade it. Well, maybe I would trade it for one of the things that goes up, but anyway. So 3 cups of flour, and then we're going to add our 2.5 teaspoons of salt. Dump that in there. And then we're going to add 1.5 tablespoons of instant yeast. Now the yeast I keep in my freezer. If you do not keep your yeast in your freezer, I highly suggest that you do. It keeps it very fresh. I always keep 2 bottles of yeast in there. I have my instant yeast and I have my active dry. For this recipe, we are going to use instant. And we need 1.5 tablespoons of yeast. So let me go ahead and measure that out. I have it written down because I don't want to tell you wrong. So if you see me looking over there at notes, it's because I have it written down and I want to make sure I'm telling you right. Sometimes you kind of just get in the habit of doing it, and you go by memory, but anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this right back into the freezer. As soon as I use it, I put it right back in the freezer, and it's lasted me forever. So definitely do that. Now you can use a 1/4 cup of sugar. I use a 1/4 cup of honey. So that's what I'm gonna use, and it's just Walmart brand honey. Let's not get crazy, right? If you have the means to get, or the availability to get natural honey from a local farmer, of course do that. But this is just what I have on hand, and I haven't found anyone around me yet that is selling real honey. Maybe us one day. So I'm gonna take my honey and I'm going to just pop that into my bowl. I have a little spatula here because I like to get it all in there. So let me just scrape that out. If you don't have honey at home right now, who cares? use sugar. Same amount, 1/4 cup. It's still gonna be amazing. The next thing you need is 1/4 cup of natural flavored oil. Again, it could be avocado oil, it could be any natural flavored oil. I'm going with Walmart brand vegetable oil is what I use. I'm not gonna buy anything extra just to make bread. That defeats the purpose of it being simple and cheap, right? We wanna use what we have. So this is what I have, this is what I'm using. 1/4 cup, right in there. And then we need 2 3/4 cups of very warm water. Because we're using instant yeast, that very warm water is gonna activate all of that in there. So I'm gonna go grab that and I'll be right back. So I'm just going to add that 2 3/4 cups of very warm water. And when I say very warm water, I don't microwave it or anything. I'm just running the hot water tap. Okay. I'm gonna stick this in here. Let me take that out so I don't spill it. Pop that onto my mixer with my dough hook. There. Raise this up a tad. I'm just gonna give it a quick mix. Oh. Tip number 1, plug in your mixer. All right, now that my mixer is actually plugged in, we're going to mix it a little bit. So what we're really doing is we just want that yeast to get mixed in with that warm water. I'm just gonna use this little spatula too to kind of mix it around. At this stage, it does not need to be fully mixed. You're still gonna have pockets of flour in here, which is fine. And you can already smell that yeasty bread, which is amazing. So while I'm gonna let this sit, we're gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes and then we're gonna come back and it should have these little bubbles in there and then we'll continue on. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. I went ahead and put on this apron because if you're anything like me, I make a big mess. So, but I do wanna show you, if you can see here, it's got all these little bubbles in there. That means our yeast is working and we are good to go. And I wish you guys could smell this because it is amazing. Okay, so at this point, what we're gonna do is we're gonna just continuously add some flour. Now, typically it is around 4 cups of flour, but it also depends on your climate, depends on where you're at, depends on how old your flour is. So you might have to keep adding and adding flour until you get the consistency that you need. And it's pulling away from the sides and in the bottom and makes like a ball. Same thing if you're doing it by hand, you're gonna add the flour as you're mixing it by hand. So I'm gonna turn on my mixer. Just like this. And I have my bag of flour here. And inside I have my little cup. I got this at Walmart. It's just 1 cup, 1 cup measuring cup. Very helpful. I'm just gonna lightly fluff up the flour. And add it to my bowl. Let me turn you back this way. So here's 1. You don't want to add it all at once. You want to kind of let it mix for a little bit and then add some more. Okay, so if you can see, it did start to pull away from the sides, but then once it started to mix, it's still pretty sticking to the side. So I'm gonna add another cup of flour. That is why you wear an apron. Once it's starting to pull away from the sides like it is and the bottom, you're gonna wanna knead it for about 2 to 4 minutes, and then we'll grease the bowl, we'll put it over there and we'll let it rise. All right, so now that that is done kneading, I'm going to take this out. First, I need to oil up a bowl. So I'm gonna just take a little bit of that oil that we used, put a little bit in this bowl. I'm gonna use a paper towel to just kind of spread that oil around the bowl and get it nice and oiled. It just is gonna be a big help when you're taking it out of there. I'm gonna take this off and I'm gonna transfer it to, I'm gonna kind of scrape it out, transfer it to this bowl. Like so. I don't like to be wasteful, so I try to get every little bit out of here as I can. All right, so now that I got it in my oiled bowl, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover it with cling film. And if you wanted to, you can oil the inside of this so it doesn't stick to the top. I've had that problem a few times because it will rise. So if you wanted to lay this out like this, kind of take that same paper towel that you used, put some oil on there, just a little, because it will stick to the top. Probably be easier if you had like Pam spray or something to spray it, but I don't have any, so we like to keep it simple. I'm gonna use what I got. And I got vegetable oil. So I'm gonna just kind of flip this around, oil side down, cover my bowl. Now because I oiled it, it's not gonna stick to the side, so I'm gonna put another layer of it on there. Just like that. All right, so now that I got that covered in cling film, I'm going to place this in my oven, not on, it's not gonna be on, but it is a warm place, and I'm gonna let it sit for an hour, and this will rise and double in size. While that is rising, what I'll typically do is just kind of clean up my mess. I don't know if I said, but this recipe does make 2 loaves of bread. So I'm gonna oil my tins for that, clean up my mess, probably go check on some chickens and do a little dishes. I like to clean as I go. And then once that is risen, we'll be back and I'll show you how I separate it. All right, so while that is rising for the hour, I've cleaned up my mess, and I'm just gonna oil up my pans here, my bread pans. I got these at Walmart when we moved here. Just a little bit of oil in each and kind of spread that around. You don't want it to stick. I did take out the bowl from the oven. Again, not on, but I just put it in there for a warm place for it to rise. I'm gonna set it aside. In here, as you can see, our dough has risen quite a bit. And with that oil on there, it didn't stick. if it was not oiled, it'd be real sticky and stringy. So that's definitely important. So now I'm just going to punch it, because who doesn't like to punch dough? So it goes flat. You can see it kind of gets a little flat there. So I'm gonna kind of just take my fingers, let me move you guys closer. So I'm just gonna kind of take my fingers along the side here and kind of scoop it inward, get it away from those sides. Again, this is another reason why you really want it to be oiled pretty well. So this part is easy. I'm gonna kind of form it into somewhat of a ball, if you will. Just kind of lift it and get it away from the sides and fold it back into each other, or into itself, I should say. Okay. I don't measure this, I do it by hand, but what I basically want to do is I want to make 2 loaves out of this. So I'm kind of just gonna eyeball it. Now, if you wanted to, you could weigh it. If you wanted a, you know, perfect, even loaf of bread, but I just kind of take it in the middle and pick it up, grab it, and tear it apart like that to make 2 balls. I'm gonna take this out, and I'm gonna kind of just, let me move this out of the way. I'm gonna kind of just fold it again, like gently fold it inward, and then I'm gonna roll it like this. So I'm tucking it underneath here, and I'm just rolling it inward like that to kind of make a really nice soft top to it. I'm gonna take my oiled pan, and I'm gonna just sit it in there like so. And I kind of like to flatten it out a little bit and get it in there. Now, sometimes if I have to, I'll take from the other and put it in here if I need to, but that looks pretty good. I'll do the same thing for the other one. So again, I'm just gonna kind of fold it inward and shape it like so. So I'm folding it in the bottom here, like a fold. And I should have oiled my hands. I didn't, but it will make it easier if you do, just FYI. So now that I kind of got it in my shape, I'm gonna place it in my pan. And kind of give it a little shake here. Kind of want it to be a little even in the pan. Okay, so now I've got my 2 loaves. I'm gonna cover this with a towel, and I'm gonna put it back in the oven, again, not on. I'm gonna put it back in the oven just in a warm place for it to rise for another 30 to 45 minutes, and then we'll be back. All right, so it's been about 30, 35 minutes. I went ahead and took them out of where I had them in the oven rising, and I started my oven, preheated it to 350 degrees, and they are plumped up. You want it just a little bit over the edge of your pan, just like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these in the oven at 350 degrees for about 30 to 32 minutes. All right, it smells amazing in here. It's so hard to not just like dig in and eat it. It's so good. But let me show you the finished bread. It looks so great. And what I do right when it comes out of the oven, when it's still hot, I'm going to, well, what I do right when it comes out of the oven is I transfer them over to a rack to cool. So let me go get that. All right, so I'm just gonna take my bread and I'm going to just kind of dump it out there. Turn it over, be careful because it is hot. But it's important to do this right away because I like to take a stick of butter and I just rub it all on the top. So it melts it right on top. Once it cools, I'm gonna get them in, I'm gonna wrap them up and get them in some baggies and freeze them until we need them. And that's it. That is our bread that we make every single week. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will leave the recipe in the description box down below. Another big shout out to Farm to Table channel. She is absolutely amazing. Go watch her video. She does the exact same recipe. I got it from her, but I will leave that same recipe down in the description box below. I appreciate you guys so much. Like, comment, subscribe, all those fun things that you do on YouTube. It really helps us out. And yeah, we will bring more videos like this. My husband is an Italian American and he loves to make pasta and all kinds of dishes that are just absolutely phenomenal. We'd love to share those with you. So yeah, thanks again for stopping by and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.